You're an in-through person yourself.
Oh, yes, out and out.
And out and through person.
Yeah, out and out.
These horrible ones that go straight down into the sea.
Have you been up at Slieve League?
No.
No, serious?
No.
You had to hang on it after a while.
I hope I don't make a mess.
No,
Make a mess of it
you
on
couldn't.
Couldn't? You want to bet? You didn't leave it alone. Every 10 minutes you were up.
Every 10 minutes
you were torturing it with that stick.
Oh, you had to, you see.
Yeah. That'll take it for like about 4 days before that boils.
That's actually the dried bodies of insects.
Yeah. 2 minutes, seriously.
Well, thank you very much. It'll have pride of place somewhere in my collection.
They have their very own version of the Atlantis myth in this part of the world, whereby the enchanted land of High Brazil appears periodically a few miles out to sea. It's a land of beautiful vistas and sandy shores, but as soon as anyone attempts to reach it by boat, a fairy mist descends and the land disappears from sight. What I find most mysterious about this legend is why anyone would want to leave this very real enchanted land for another across the sea. Welcome to Slieve League and the mountains and headlands of South West Donegal. Or maybe this is High Brazil. Maybe that's how the magic works, that we've reached the island but forgotten how we came here. That's one possible explanation for the fairyland quality of this seascape, the dramatic entrance to Teelan Harbour, sculpted by water elves who crossed from Sligo in centuries past. The towering ramparts of Bunglass, bracing themselves against the unveiling Atlantic hordes, whose armies are infinite, whose march is relentless, and whose sly advances are never-ending. There's a kind of scenery, and we're blessed with it here along our coasts and in other places, that leaves us, quite literally at times, breathless with excitement and tingling with danger-induced adrenaline. It's most palpable here at Slieve League, but it stays with you in a kind of remembered glow as you draw slower breaths in the lee of the mountain and on into Glen Columkill and further east along the coast to the little towns of Carrick and KILCAR. The similarities with the North Antrim coast are obvious if somewhat superficial. There's even a Rathlin island here, Rathlin O'Byrne to give it its proper name. But I'm standing on a piece of coastline here that's just a little bit older than North Antrim. About 500 million years ago, this cliff was the ocean floor. Now it's swapped places with itself, confusing the birds in the process. There is such glamour and colour and drama in this landscape, so much to beguile the eye and transfix your gaze that you need to exercise its spell. Get into it, swim in it, walk in it, climb it. Something that gets you feeling the fabric, wearing it instead of just admiring it. Magnificent Slieve League at 1,972 feet, the highest and scariest sea cliffs anywhere in Europe. Also, I suspect, the windiest as well, because if I wasn't hanging on to this fence post, I think I'd be somewhere else entirely. When tourists come up here, they tend to stay a long time, not just because they're enjoying the view, but because they're terrified of facing the journey back down that road again. What's even more frightening for me is that tomorrow morning, I'll be down there somewhere underneath it in a boat. Well, that's the plan anyway. Next day, I am indeed ploughing along the Atlantic edge in Adrian Malloy's boat in the company of local author Michael O'Donnell. The cliffs of Slieve League are no less impressive when they're soaring above you as opposed to plunging below you. Michael's book is entitled In Through People, and I'm about to find out what that means. But not, Adrian assures me, before he catches a decent fish. So, with one eye on Adrian's line, I first of all inquire about Michael's father, the man who once ran the BBC.
The BBC was started in, well, he started his operation 1926,
Yes.
27, and then he was going till he died himself from an accident on the BBC bus in 1942, and then the bus went on. My mother, the war years were from 39 to 45, so she ran it on to 44. 44. And then she had to give it up, you know.
We should explain the BBC.
Bugger Bus Company. Bugger is the name of the townland, Bugger. And it'd be sad to tell you what Bugger means. It means a soft place.
A soft place, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Bugger Bus Company,
yeah. And that was actually quite famous in this area.
Well, he had the first private bus, as far as I know, in the county, you know.
Yeah.
And that was, he had 3 buses altogether. He had a small bus first, a 10-seater.
Yeah.
Then in the mid-30s, he got a 16-seater. And then he got a 20-seater.
Right.
And everybody from the area, that time there were only 1 or 2 cars in the whole area.
So he
Everybody either had a bicycle, you walked, or
right.
you went on the bus.
Right, so he was one of them. He was the
He
form
owned
of
it, he was
transport.
his owner, So I main transport. And the funny thing about it, what you wouldn't get nowadays, that time things were very tough in the 30s, you know.
Sure.
Very poor. And
Yes.
if young lads not on the bus were going on, and if you hadn't the price of a journey to Killybegs, and you said to me, Father, Johnny, I'll see you again, and he would say, "Ach, sure, I know you will." Of course, they would never see you, you know. He didn't. You didn't want money, really.
So
No.
he was doing the service for people. in
Aye,
other words.
service,
One of your writings was called the in-through people.
Yes.
No, go and explain what in-through people
Well,
would be.
in-through people is very funny. Got that name from. You see, Killybegs at that time, there are natives Killybegs at the moment.
Yes.
There's only about a third of the people or so.
A lot of them from
Killybegs,
come
they're
from outside.
Aye, but at that time they're all Killybegs, you know. But the notion, because the train was coming in and all that once you passed Killybegs, we were in Belubaland. That was the end of the world. You understand? So if you came from in there, you came from in-through.
In-through.
So we were called the in-through people.
You were the in-through people. A true native, in other words.
Aye, well, there was it's only a joke. I'm not saying anything against the Killybegs. We were just knowing that's how they used to speak, the in-through people. He's from in-through, they would say.
What have we got here, Adrian?
Tiny little grey gurners.
A wee gurnard.
Baby gurners.
They're actually very good eating, you know. That one's too small, isn't it?
Small.
So you're an in-through person yourself, in other words.
out and out.
Right. An out in-through person.
Out.
Adrian takes fishing parties out for a living, and earlier this morning he tells me they had to share the waters of this bay with a 20-foot basking shark. His catch on this occasion is thankfully quite manageable. As Adrian himself describes it, a small pollock.
Two
2.5
pounds. It's small.
Beautiful fish.
Beautiful fish.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
We'll put him back.
Live another day?
Live another day.
And another day later, I walked the shoreline away to the east of Slieve League, in towards Muckross Point in the company of Mahon Gillespie. Like me, Mahon certainly appreciates the beauty of these surroundings, but what the stranger sees is not always what the native knows to be the true picture.
Absolutely idyllic here today, I must say. That water's very inviting looking now, isn't it? But you tell me that's the beach that has the dangerous undertow.
That's the beach that has the dangerous undertow, and that's one of the dangers about these things, that you could be drawn to it, and then there is difficulties then.
So everything around here is beautiful. Also has a wee dangerous edge to it, you know.
That's right.
Which is the sting in the tail, isn't
That's
it?
right. Yeah. That's right. That's like a beautiful woman.
Well, yeah, that's the voice of experience talking there. We'll not go there, all right. But there's a road I can see that takes us right out to the end of the. We haven't got there yet. We keep stopping. They have all these different beautiful views.
Yes, we'll get there eventually,
We'll get there eventually.
To the head and see the specific things we want to have a chat about.
Yeah. Michael, I think it's going to take us all day before we get to the end of Muckross Head, because we keep stopping for all these different views. But this is a lovely spot here. We're down on the actual beach now itself, and there's a very interesting rock formation just sticking out there at the end of it. You're saying that's what probably gives this place its name?
That's what gives this beach its name. That is Lower, the rock of Lower, which we like to think is named after an old sea god, but it does look like an old hag with a shawl.
An old hag with a shawl.
Yeah.
You're telling me there's some significance to this hill up here above us, which is a wee bit steep for us to be climbing, let's face it, but we can talk about it, we can see it anyway from here.
That is Molly Nabrina, the hill of the fight, and that is where Crapastoon, the king of the fairies in this area, lived.
Crapastoon?
Crapastoon. And there's a well there just below the top ridge, and we think that is the only well left in Ireland that was named after a fairy, because all the rest of the wells were blessed and so on like that. But this one still exists, named after a fairy, Crapastoon. And there's a story about the well itself, that when he went over to fight the fairies in Connacht, that he said that the locals should look in the well every evening, and if they discovered that it was turned red, then he would be dead.
He would be dead.
And that is what has happened, because he's not around at the moment.
So it must have turned red at some stage.
That's right.
So when you say the locals in this instance, you're talking about the local fairies or the local people?
Local fairies. Well, the people had at those times had to live kind of in conjunction
Yes.
with the fairies, because if you didn't, some bad spells would be put upon you and
Right.
so on.
You're advised to keep them happy.
That's right, that's right.
Yes, we did eventually get to Muckross Point, the headland of the pig. No pigs nowadays, but plenty of other remnants of past times. Michael's own one-classroom school, built in 1863, now a private home. And, remarkably, the steps leading to what was a market house. Evidence that this was once a busy trading centre with materials going in and out from Sligo, Mullaghmore and Inishmurray. Teelan was once a centre for curing fish, cod, ling and herring, and for making barrels. And here on Muckross Point, Michael tells me, 2 natural resources were used extensively in previous centuries to make what was an essential commodity.
This headland here was all bog originally.
You mean it was a lot higher than this would have been?
Oh yes,
Yeah?
oh yes. And there was places here where my grandmother said it was 12 turf deep.
12 turf deep.
That's right.
That's a very deep bog.
That is deep bog.
Right.
And it was all used then to boil the salt water to get salt from it.
And a lot of the ground underneath now has been exposed because that's all been cut away.
That's right. That's right.
Which doesn't help the erosion of the place.
Doesn't help the erosion. It's been eroded gradually year after year in reality. With every storm that comes, there's more and more. On the other side of us here, we had what was called the Muckers Caves. Those caves don't really exist now because what was up above has fallen in.
See.
Yeah.
Now we all know about the power of the sea when it comes to moulding and shaping the coastline. You only have to look along these headlands at all the fissures and caves and tunnels that the sea has wrought over thousands and even millions of years. The truly awesome power of the sea is best demonstrated by what it can accomplish overnight. One morning, back in the middle of the 1980s, after a big storm, people woke to find a few new pebbles on the beach. Except that these few pebbles weighed between them, I'm guessing, several hundred tons. Can you imagine the power of the wave that lifted these big flags from the front of Muckross Point around the corner, carried them inland several hundred yards and planted them down here? Awesome power doesn't do it justice. I think the word I'm searching for is unimaginable.
You can see Muckross from the front of David and Nuala Gustafson's house. You can also see a great deal of Donegal Bay, the Atlantic and Connacht from the front of their house. That's if you can tear your eyes away from the house itself, which was built entirely by David. Not so much a house as an interesting way to frame landscapes, real landscapes, as opposed to the very accomplished ones painted by Nuala. David, as the name and the accent might suggest, hails originally from Scandinavia. But this is one Viking who wields an axe with peaceful intent.
Besides these chairs here, or this style of chair, you've also made this one here beside you, this lovely summer seat.
I make
You make everything of wood, yes?
anything from a toothpick to a 2-story house.
A 2-story house. I'm talking in houses.
Aye.
Your own house is made of wood. I must say the colour of it is lovely because it's weathered to the same colour as the rocks.
Yeah.
Hasn't
It
it?
suits the hill here.
It suits the hill, yeah. It's very unusual, I must say, to
And
see
it's
a wooden house.
a lot. Anybody can build it
Yeah.
with a hammer and saw. That's all you need.
Anybody who has the hands
That's all I
can
had.
build it. Did you build it? You build it all yourself?
Wife and
Yeah.
daughter helped me,
Yeah, help you. Excellent.
and I put the roof on. All the neighbours come up and give me a hand.
That's good.
Yeah.
And how long is it standing now?
12 years.
12 years. So it's standing all the weather that this area throws at you around here, yeah?
Not the creek.
Aye.
If you ever in a boat on a bad day, you hear the creek.
You hear it creaking? Yeah.
The same thing.
Beside the main house is the chalet version, a beautiful wooden holiday house that Nuala and David rent out to those with an eye for scenery. Nuala's not the only female artist in the family. Their daughter has also left her mark upon the place, and they all do a bit of this and that. The result, I think it's fair to say, is a wonderfully eccentric and playful building.
I know what happened here, right? David just had the wall plastered fresh and he had a furious row. Started throwing things at each other, no? That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I can't throw anything away. And all these wee bits,
Yeah.
they all came out of walls.
Out of walls?
Out of the walls here, the stone walls, and down in the soil.
Why with that? I mean, they're just thrown,
Because, yes,
dumped out?
Yeah.
That's what you
So
mean.
I couldn't bear to throw it away. I thought, well, it's part of here.
It's certainly part of here now.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's clever. It really is funny, the wee handle sticking out.
Yeah.
You think the rest of the dish or the cup
Yeah.
is stuck inside somewhere, you know? Yeah. That's lovely there, isn't it? Who did the painting? You know, David didn't do the painting as well.
No, I do.
You do the painting?
Things, yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. And look at this floor here. This is very unusual. It's kind of almost like stained glass or something, isn't it? The way all the wee jigsaw
Well, I just
pieces
put
fit
it
together. Lovely. And David made the beds as well?
He did, yeah.
And you painted them?
Yeah.
That's a terribly talented family altogether. Yeah. And what's this? Ah, look at that.
That was the end of a log.
Yeah.
And I thought, what'll I do with that?
Yeah, yeah. Strikes me you're fun doing these things, you know, they're not
Great.
just practical.
It happens.
Yeah.
And that was, our daughter did that at school when she was maybe 15 or 16, the wee thing.
The wee stained glass
Because there was a
thing.
hole in the log, and
I
we thought,
see.
what would we put in there?
Yeah.
And then we remembered that was lying around somewhere.
It's not hard sometimes to see where the artists and craftspeople derive their inspiration. In Muckross, KILCAR and Glencolmkill, it's in the air, on the water, on the ground, and in the light. Where there is light, there is colour, and where there is sheep, there is wool, maybe not the right colour. And that's where people like Myra McGinley and Jimmy Carr come in, keeping alive traditional dyeing, carding and homespun weaving practices that once sustained this whole area. Nowadays, Chappish Gael Chaw, the tapestry artists, turn out these beautiful pictures. But at one stage, practically every homestead had a handloom on which was turned out traditional Donegal tweed. It was an office clerk back in 1826, the story goes by the way, who invented the word tweed through a typing error. Prior to that, it was called twill. Whatever it's called, however sophisticated the wearers who could afford to buy it, its origins were here in the hills and rocks of Donegal.
Crottle, but it's a very nice colour, crottle.
Crottle is the word that here, the Irish word for lichen. It doesn't look that nice, does it?
No, no, it's a very good, it's a substantive.
It grows on the rocks.
It grows on the rocks.
Hills, yeah.
Aye. Well, we've seen lots of different kinds of crottle. Is it just this black stuff you call crottle, or do you know there's a nice light green crottle and there's an orange crottle as well?
They are surely, but they would grow in different places, maybe here on top of the hills.
Yes.
You see, that's what grows on top of the hills here.
That's on top
and
of the hills.
It won't grow any place but foul air.
This is a very good sign.
Clean,
No pollution whatsoever.
No pollution
Right,
whatsoever.
and that's a good sign of no pollution.
Crottle now or heather, they won't die on anything else, and they won't fade.
They won't fade.
They will not fade.
And the colour won't run.
No, no.
Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean.
Yes,
They won't fade.
it won't contaminate our clothes.
No,
in other
will
words.
not, no.
That's important for washing them
Yes,
as well, isn't it?
yeah.
Right. So, what kind of colour would you get from the crottle? This
It's a brownish red.
brownish red.
If you put it,
Have you
Yeah, that's nice rusty colour here.
Does that come from that area?
Crottle, yes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be hard to believe
Yeah,
that.
It's the strongest
Oh,
colour you can get from
strong.
Irish dye stuff.
Aye.
Yeah.
Really? Well, these are all colours here. These are all natural dyes, and you get them from all these different ingredients here, right? Now, some of them, that's not terribly exotic. You didn't have to import the
No,
onions.
the onion skins, everybody
Onion
knows
skins,
what an
everybody
onion skin
knows what
looks
they-
like.
Keep them covered because the breeze might take them away from us. Right? So onion skins are a good dye as well.
Oh, very good dye, surely.
Show me the onion
You
skin.
get a bright
good.
yellow. Now, the
Bright
brightest of
yellow.
those yellows on the...
Brightest of the yellow.
Ah,
there.
yeah.
that's from onion skin.
Yeah.
Aye.
These are all the exotic things that you bring in from far and wide.
Oh, cochineal are the reds and pinks. The red, this pinky
Pink
one
red,
here.
aye.
Yeah. And that's actually the dried bodies of insects.
Ugh. You serious?
Yeah. The dried bodies of the female insect that lives on certain cactus plants.
And you dye your
Right.
clothes with that? With dead bodies?
That's...
That's what they are, seriously?
yeah, that's what they are, seriously.
There's no sign of, wee arms and legs or anything
Yeah, well, if you had it up close and, you notice. Yeah, well, of course they're dried
They
now.
just looked like wee stones, but
yeah,
they're wee
yeah.
dreadful.
But how they gather the females, I don't know. Now they must have good sight in Brazil.
Other dyes were got from materials like indigo, brazil wood, walnut husks, logwood, calendula flowers, and Sanders wood. Exotic sounding stuff. But the truly native crottle is the one that Jimmy grew up using for dye, with the method that he's demonstrating to me now.
And this wool's already quite damp.
Aye, that's right.
Yeah. If you're doing this indoors, would there
That
be a...
would smell, yes.
Would?
Yeah, that's
Not-
why
not-
we have
not
the
very
fire.
pleasant?
No.
Not very pleasant, no.
Let's wait till it died outside
Yeah.
just to make it.
On the fire with it?
There you go. What's blacked out doesn't before.
It's great to get that fire. Is that turf you've on that? Is that turf burning there? Yeah.
There's some of it. Might be a couple of wheels of coal in.
Lovely.
But
Peaty, lovely peaty smell off it.
they're good, you see. But then if it was turned.
I know this. Do you ever hear that saying, watch crottle never boils?
I made my farewells by calling on and passing Bernie Cunningham. Bernie's a kind of female version of Noah. You can sort of tell that she likes animals and birds. You can also tell that the peacock likes them as well. In fact, he's a bit confused, this peacock, because when this peahen rejects his advances, he simply switches his attention to the other peahens.
What's amazing to me, Bernie, that in fact you've so many different animals together, and they actually seem to get on reasonably well together.
Yeah, because they're all in one place. They're just...
Yeah, but they're not as much. I mean, you'd think the lamb would be.
No, he's been there since he was born, and he's
Right.
just...
Wait, maybe he
thinks they're
thinks,
his family, I would say.
he thinks he's a hen.
Well, that could be it.
Look at this for display. Please notice me. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yes. He hasn't bothered trying to eat anything yet.
No, he just does his dance first.